Hey guys, welcome back to another video on my channel. Today, we are going to be covering everything in 1.19.3. 1.19.3 will release on December 6th. This video should be going up, hopefully, if I get it finished in time, on December 2nd, I believe. So, just a weekend wait, and on Tuesday it should be released. So today, we're going to be talking about everything new inside of 1.19.3. This is the biggest point update. By point, I mean like 119 point something or 118 point. This is the biggest point update we have gotten in quite some time, that without actually adding anything new. Obviously, I think the one before this was probably the Pigling Brute when we got that added in 119 or 116.2, I think. So yeah, this is huge. So let's now jump straight to what's new. So the biggest thing is the creative inventory. The creative inventory has had huge changes. I'm going to quickly scroll through some of the tabs just so you guys get a rough idea of what it looks like now, because they have added new tabs, they have altered new tabs, they have also removed tabs. Some of the new ones are coloured blocks, spawn eggs, functional blocks, and they have also added or customized the food and drinks. But every single tab has actually had alters to it. The blocks inside of the tab have been organized more, and it's just so much better. With also the addition of some rare items being inside the creative inventory, like all 3 rocket durations. You can also now find the spawner within the spawn eggs tab. And also this adds a new button to the game inside of controls called Operator Items tab. If this is set to on and you have op on your world or server, then you get this new tab which is for anything that you used to get by giving yourself commands. So structure blocks, jigsaw blocks, command blocks, the light blocks, barriers, structure voids, and also the debug stick. You can still get these by doing /give, but you can also get them from this creative tab. The next thing is, I don't think something I can show, but I can at least mention it. Stronghold placement code has changed to be more efficient, causing stronghold positions to shift. So if you are in a world and strongholds are not exactly where they used to be, maybe you are playing on a seed that you know well, strongholds might not be where they have used to be, but they would have only shifted a little bit. They wouldn't be much different from what they were, but this is basically just cleaning up stronghold code. The monster spawner has had a name update. It's now called monster spawner, and upon placing it, it will be set by no mob by default. Before, it would always be a pig when you placed it down. Now it's not set. With the spawner change, a few spawn eggs have been added /updated. The ghast and the polar bear have had some tweaks to their texture to make them a little bit more different, so you can tell the difference between the two. We have also got the iron golem spawn egg and the snow golem spawn egg. These both do work inside of the spawner, as you can see. And also, when you place an egg inside of the spawner, it will then update with the model in the middle, and then it will add the fire particles. If you also pick block the block for the NBT data, it will then update to have that mob in it. As you can see, this one is an empty one. This one has Snow Golem, and this can be done for pretty much any mob. If I quickly just put an axolotl in here, as you can see, this one is set to axolotl. With the addition of the Iron Golem and Snow Golem, we have also got the Wither Spawn Egg and the Ender Dragon spawn egg. Now these are not within the creative inventory, so if we was to type in Ender Dragon, as you can see, nothing appears. This is for the simple reason of they don't want you to accidentally place these down thinking they are another mob and then cause destruction to your world. But you can still get these with commands. The first one is, as you can see right there, this @s would be your name or whoever you want to give it to, and as you can see, Wither. And then the Ender Dragon one is exactly the same as that, just using Ender Dragon instead of Wither. A sound update in 1.19.3, glow lichen, any type of carpet, lily pads, small budding amethyst, warped roots, nether sprouts, and crimson roots all now have sounds when walking through or on top of them, or they have custom unique sounds. So as you can see, by walking through the glow lichen, if I quickly just set a lot of it, you can hear there is a unique sound. Same with carpets. I think the carpets is mainly the same as wool. Also budding or small budding amethyst, and also walking through these. And also when walking on lily pads, it now plays a different sound rather than before. So they are just little tiny tweaks to the sounds, which I think just makes the game a lot better because sounds add to what obviously you're doing around the world. Now, the next thing in 1.19.3 is the Vex. The Vex has had huge changes. Not only has it had a texture update, it has also had a complete model rework. As you can see, the model is now more close to matching the LA mob, and also if we quickly just get it angry at us, you will see that the actual angry texture has also been altered. Let me quickly just see if I can get it. Yes, as you can see right there, the texture has completely been changed, and so has the model. A quick little disclaimer if you haven't been following 1.19.3 change logs. The actual, although the model and the texture has changed for the Vex, the way it actually works or interacts with the player hasn't changed. It will still be aggressive towards the player, and it's still summoned by evokers. Another change inside of 1.19.3 is when you actually have things on a shulker box now. So as you can see, I'm just going to put a load of things on it. When you now open that shulker box, it will all pop off. As you can see, signs still stay on, which is something to note, and so do rails for some weird reason. I don't know why, but torches, levers, buttons all will pop off when placed on the side or even on the top of a shulker box. One little tiny tweak inside of 1.19.3, the wild update music. So this is music that plays inside of certain biomes, mainly the deep dark, the mangrove swamp, and a few other biomes, has been slightly lowered, so it will no longer be as loud when exploring. The next change takes place inside of the Nether. These 3 mobs will now spawn in light levels 7 and below. This only counts for the Nether. So Endermen and skeletons that spawn in other dimensions will still spawn in their default light levels, but when inside of the Nether, they will only be able to spawn in level 11 and below. This is to fix a bug where they could spawn in the portal blocks. Now let's cover some of the new commands inside of 1.19.3. The first one, if we quickly just jump right down here, is /fill biome. I will also show you how you use these as well. So /fill biome is a command where you can change the biome of the area you specify. So we're going to specify the coordinates I'm standing at, and then we're going to specify a area 20 blocks in each direction. And we're going to change it to a snowy taiga, let's do. So it snows here instead of rains. You can now also add a replace tag to it, so this only replaces certain tags of biomes, or you can actually have it change a certain biome. So if you only want it to change, let's say jungle, then you can do is jungle, or you can actually specify the jungle biome. In this case, we don't want to add a replace because we want to change every single biome inside of this radius. So as you can see, I have now done that. You can see the grass color has changed, and it's also snowing. It's raining over here. It's snowing over here. This command is really useful. It will also update what mobs can spawn in a specified area. So if I was to set this to a mushroom island, then actual mushroom cows will be able to spawn here. If I set it to a jungle, then ocelots will be able to spawn here. With it now snowing, that brings in the next command, and this is game rule snow accumulation height. This is a integer, so a number between 0 and 8 you can enter in. So let's set it as 5. What this basically does is, with it being 5, that means when it snows, snow layers will be able to be placed by natural snow up to 5 layers high. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you will not see any snow layers natural that are higher than this. You can still, as a player, place them higher than this. So as you can see, I can still place them up to the full block. But the natural snow terrain will only be able to place them up to 5 blocks. As you can see, if we start walking around, you will see that the snow will start piling up. Here it is piled up 2 layers. As you can see over here, it has piled up 3 layers. So this will only be able to go up to 5. And you can actually change this up to 8, which will then be a full block. The next 2 game rules are game rule lava source conversion. By default, this is set to false because lava sources do not provide an infinite source. So this is set to false, but you can now change this to true. So as you can see, as soon as I update this to true and I place another lava bucket there, it should now actually update this to be infinite. So I can now grab a bucket and I can infinitely take lava from this corner right here, as you can see, just like water works. Now this is the same for water. So if I was to do that, the water source conversion is a new game rule as well. By default, this is set to true, but you can also set this to false, so you only have the water you put in here. As you can see, I now cannot take another water source from this block. Now the next 3 game rules are all linked, so they are as follows. Block explosion drop decay is by default set to true. TNT explosion drop decay is by default set to false, and mob explosion drop decay is by default set to true. Now what this actually does, if it is set to false, so as you can see TNT is set to false, then every single thing that the TNT blows up will drop as a block. So if we was to quickly get a button and ignite this TNT, every single block it blows up will drop as an entity on the floor, as you can see right there. If it is in fact set to true, then there is a chance it could drop a block depending on how close the explosion is to it. So, for example, if you actually wanted creepers to drop every single block they blow up, then you can change mob explosion drop decay to false, and now anything a creeper explodes will drop it fully. So if we now blow this creeper up, as you can see, if I go down into this hole, we got 44 blocks. If I quickly put another creeper right here, but set this to true, then it will drop a lot less blocks. If we quickly just get rid of that, as you can see, this time around, it only dropped 10. Now this can be altered for TNT, for mobs, and also for blocks. Blocks are obviously things like beds, respawn anchors, and any block that causes an explosion. Mobs are anything that causes a mob explosion. So creepers, I think ghasts, and anything else that damages as a mob. And finally, the last game rule is game rule global sound events. By default, this is set to true. And what this basically means is if you was to actually summon a wither on a server, then anyone will be able to hear you summoning this wither. So if I quickly just spawn it right here, then anyone on the server, anywhere they are in the world, would be able to hear me, or I think it's actually killing the wither, not summoning it, but they'll be able to hear that. And if you actually set this to false, then it's set on the block rather than the world. Now we are jumping to bug fixes in 1.19.3. There were so many, I'm only going to be covering the ones that are important that might affect you during gameplay. First one, turtles. When you actually bred turtles, there was no cooldown between breeding them. So you could breed them, as soon as they laid the eggs, you could then breed them again. But as you can see now, there is a cooldown of the 5 minutes that every mob has. The next one is the buzzy bees would get stuck on a lot of blocks that was not full blocks. So things like fences, glass, trapdoors, doors, they would just get stuck on this hitbox and would not be able to do anything or move until you nudged them or broke the block. They should now be able to get out of blocks like this a lot easier. Villagers will now pathfind out of water better. So as you can see, if a villager is stuck in the middle of water, in this case a lake, it will now try and pathfind out of the water rather than its AI completely breaking, and it just stays in the water. There was also a bug where certain mobs couldn't get out of too deep water. So if the water was 2 or more blocks deep, then they'd have trouble actually escaping it. I don't know exactly what mobs this was, as it don't specify what mobs, but all mobs should now not get stuck in water, I guess. There are a few subtitle changes to villagers. Villagers that have the workstation of armorer, cleric, or also stonemason, they will now display the correct subtitle when working at a workstation. Before, it would actually play the block effect, sound effect. It now plays the armorer or the cleric or the stonemason works. Villagers and piglings can now open doors again, and villagers will now close doors a lot more commonly. Baby piglings and also baby zombie piglings will now not suffocate in one tall gaps, so they will now be able to go under that block without taking damage and dying. Another bug is creepers can now be ignited with fire charges, so you can now use fire charges to ignite creepers, which is pretty good. You can now also empty water buckets onto waterlogged blocks, so if you have a full bucket and you want to get rid of it, you can now empty it like so. The best way I think I can show this is doing something like this and then going inside the water. As you can see, I'm now put out. And finally, the squid, if you actually are using the texture pack of the old textures, programmer art, the squid will have the old texture. Shields have had a huge buff in 1.19.3. Explosions caused by beds or respawn anchors. Obviously, if you use a bed inside of the nether or end, it explodes. And respawn anchors, if you use them inside of the end or the overworld, they explode. That can now be blocked by a shield. Also, gassed fireballs can now be blocked by a shield. As you can see right there, it shot at me, but I took 0 damage apart from the fire. I didn't take the explosion damage. And also, end crystals can now be blocked by a shield as well. So if I was to quickly throw a end crystal here, and then I was to throw some things into this dispenser, and then I was to, I don't know, maybe set up some redstone that added a delay. So if I now click this button, and it would help if I actually put, oh okay, I did put arrows in there. But as you can see, the actual thing got set off, it got hit by the arrow, and we took 0 damage because we were shielding. Another 2 bugs that are quite good is if you're on fire, you can now put yourself out of fire with splash water bottles. This is huge for the nether. If you're inside a nether, you can now actually put yourself out if you carry these. And also mobs dangling on leads. So if I was to start dangling this sheep in midair, it will not accumulate full damage until it actually hits the ground, and then it will calculate how much damage it took while it falls. So if I quickly just lower it very slowly, normally this sheep would instantly die as soon as it hits the ground, but if I lower it down very slowly, as you can see, it has took 0 full damage. And just to show that it's completely on the floor, there we go. Another few changes that are pretty big. Scaffolding will no longer allow mobs to spawn on the block, so if you have got farms like me that use scaffolding, you will have to change the farms, as these farms will no longer work. Mobs will not be able to spawn on top of scaffolding anymore. Also, if you have items inside of any sort of container, I have got 3 here as an example, you can now queue things out of the container inventory, as you can see right there, and if you hold Control Q, then it throws the whole stack, which this is really good if you just want to throw like one item out of the chest to pick it up. This also works with boat chests, as you can see right there. This works with anything that has a inventory that you can actually put items inside of, and it is so good. As you can see, we've now tamed this horse, so this works with llamas and anything else, but you can now put saddles and also horse armor on them just by right clicking. This works with llamas and carpet. It also works with donkeys, mules, anything else. To take it off, you still need to open up its inventory, but you can actually put them on just by clicking on the horse or the mob now. The next change is to goats. When breeding 2 goats, if one of them is a screaming goat, there is now a 50% chance that the baby will be a screaming goat. This also does fix a bug where if you actually turn down the sounds of friendly creatures, the goats wouldn't count within this. Now, if you turn this down, goat sound will be turned down as well. LAs have also had a few updates in this update. The LA will now tell the difference between arrows or tipped arrows and also potions. So if you give them a certain potion type, they will only bring you that potion type. They won't bring you any others. Let me quickly just show you this working. So I'm going to give it a potion of slowness. And if I now gave it a potion of poison, a potion of strength, and a potion of slowness, it will only pick up the potion of slowness and bring that one potion to me, which means you can now actually have a potion sorter as well. This works with tipped arrows. And also a bug that has been fixed is the LA used to render a bit too low inside of boats. That should now be fixed, and the LA should render at a decent height if we can quickly just get one inside of a boat, which is actually harder than it looks. There we go. As you can see, they now render at a height where you can see them. Now, with that being said, that is really all that is in 1.19.3. It's a huge update, not only for good bug fixes. This LA potion bug that has been fixed is huge, but also the game rules that they have added, the new field biome command they have added, and also the changes to the creative inventory, adding items to the creative tab that we have been wanting for ages. Spawners, command blocks, and even more spawn eggs. But anyway, that is where I'm going to end this video. 1.19.3 will be released on December 6th, which is next Tuesday. But anyway, if you enjoyed, leave a like and subscribe, and I guess I'll see you guys next time. Bye.